I'm speaking with Barnabas Olare from Mombasa. He's a pastor in Gospel Missions Agency Church in Mombasa, and one of the very encouraging ministries they have is what they call a wisdom training center. So I want to ask him, what is it and why did you start it?
Thank you very much, Mwalimu. Wisdom Training Center is an outreach ministry that is basically intended to reach out to our friends in the Pentecostal charismatic movement, which is really what our background is. And we've had it since 2015, 2016. About 150, 170 people have gone through it over the last few years. And the Lord is using it to really change lives, thankfully. And many good things are going on as a result of that, yes.
So what in particular are you teaching them?
What we're doing is we are giving them a basic introduction to systematic theology for 1 year. And then those particularly who are in the ministry who would want to advance beyond that, we add them an additional year where we give them modules like pastoral theology, church history, and historical theology, you know, just additional things to equip them to be of service to the Lord and His people. And let me just go back a bit and say that we do that because most of the pastors around here have little to no theological training whatsoever. And so we're trying to address that as we introduce them as well to the doctrines of grace by the grace of God.
So you say that most of them who come are from a Pentecostal charismatic background?
Almost all of them. Almost all of them, yes.
And I think you've had some interesting students who have come in the ministry for years and they've been converted as they've joined the course.
Yes. Well, a few examples come to mind very quickly. There is one who has become very close to me, a pastor by the name of Ibrahim Katana. Was in the 2016-17 class, came to class, was in the process of being made a reverend in their denomination, came to class, and after 3 months he realized that he was on the wrong trajectory. And long story short, the Lord saved him. He gave up that quest to become a reverend and is now working very, very hard to reform his church. I think a few days ago we had a ministry there with Mwalimu Underhill. He's doing very, very well.
So you're greatly encouraged by this ministry, are you?
Very, very much so, yes. Yes, yes. The Lord is saving people through it. And the others who might have been converted previously but then imbibe the errors of the Word of Faith movement, and through the training program, the Lord has really worked to put them on a course of reform. They're coming to believe the doctrines of grace and to begin to introduce those doctrines in their own churches, some of them with fairly good success, though with a lot of resistance, as you might expect.
So you've developed even some other centers apart from Mombasa?
Yes, about a couple of years ago, the Lord expanded the work in a very providential way. One of our students had a member of his church who had him preach, carried the doctrines of grace from the church in a place called Mtwapa up north to Kilifi County, a place called Malindi, and then the pastor himself went over there, preached, and next thing I know, I'm being summoned to go to Malindi to meet a group of 18 pastors who want to study with us. And so 2 years ago, we took a center there. We've had a few graduates from that side. In fact, it's a few days ago. Yesterday, we came from Malindi, where we had a fairly good conference with people there. This year, we have started another center in a place called Kaloleni, near Mariakani. We have about 15 students there who are studying as we speak. Another 15 in Malindi, and in Mombasa, we have about 37, 38 who are in session with us now, yes. So the work is really expanding, yeah.
I think that a lot of the churches in this coastal area of Kenya seem to be Pentecostal charismatic.
That's true, yes.
are they the strongest, do you think? Numerically?
Numerically, you find the biggest churches to be the Pentecostal charismatics. You have anywhere from a few hundreds to thousands of people who flock into those churches every Sunday, sometimes even weekdays. I know of a pastor around here who supposedly reads people's stars. He has services almost every day of the week, and they're packed with thousands upon thousands. So yes, Pentecostal charismatic churches are big. Yeah.
So do you see the fact that these men are coming to you with very strange teaching that we have?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see this as a movement of the Lord because they're dissatisfied,
Mm-hmm.
because they want more? What's the reason why this is happening?
I really believe, brother, that the Lord is at work, because a few years ago when we ourselves, the Lord brought us the doctrines of grace and began preaching them, we became very, very unpopular. I remember the first conference we had in Mombasa, a group of pastors actually led a walk out from the conference, literally. And so we've been a very bumpy ride. I remember another time we had a conference at our church, and some of the Pentecostal churches around here gathered together and organized a crusade just outside of the venue of our conference to frustrate it. Now, interestingly, over the last few months, we've seen the tide, at least in our area, beginning to change. And some of the very same people who were very much opposed to what we're doing have actually come to attend our training program and are now working fairly hard to bring reform to their own churches. I can only describe that as the doing of the Lord. And something else that we've noticed is that the numbers of those who've been attending our conferences, as some of you might know, we have an annual conference here in Mombasa. It happens every August. We call it the Reformation Conference. And the number that are coming are increasing every year. And the same is true with those who are applying to join the Wisdom Training Center. Just for this current intake, we had more than 100 people applying to attend. We could only take in 70. So yes, brother, the Lord, I believe, is truly at work. The numbers are increasing. And it's not just the numbers, it is the work that is going on in the hearts of people. There are pastors who are embracing these doctrines. They're laboring hard to introduce them to their people at great expense themselves. They're losing members, losing the favor with their denominational leaders, but they are committed to it, and that, brother, can only be the doing of the Lord. Yes.
So can you give us a rough estimate of the number of men who have clearly embraced the doctrines of grace and who are seeking to reform their churches, just approximately?
Yeah. Right now, as we speak, we are in the process of starting up a little pastors fraternal just around here. And we are targeting just the exact group that you mentioned. People who have embraced the doctrines of grace personally, those about whom we have got clear evidence that they are laboring to bring the same to their churches. We had a first meeting a couple of weeks ago where we had about 7 pastors who attended. We have another one scheduled in another week or so where we expect to have about 11 pastors. So that gives you an idea that there are pastors who are embracing these doctrines, they are teaching them, and the numbers are increasing by the grace of God.
This is Mombasa itself or the wider region around Mombasa?
The numbers I'm giving you are just in Mombasa alone. And by Mombasa, I'm also including a little town that is at the border of Mombasa and Kilifi, called Mtwapa. So from Mtwapa and Mombasa, that's the area I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about Malindi, for instance. I'm not talking about Kaloleni because it's just new. We started this year. Yeah, so these are largely from Mombasa area. Yes.
So just to finish now, obviously it's clear we need to give thanks to God. Absolutely. And there are things to pray for. Absolutely. Can you add anything specifically that you would like us to pray for?
We, first of all, would like to thank God because of what He's done. when all these things began a few years ago, we wouldn't have known that the Lord would bring us this far and would do so much. But He has been very gracious. People are getting interested. One of the things that we are praying hard for, as a local church, for example, because obviously the training we have is anchored in the local church. It is happening under the authority of the local church. And we are in need of a strong leadership for the local church. Currently, I am the only elder in our local church. We believe in a plurality of elders. A few years ago, the Lord raised a man who came and joined me in the eldership. And then after a while, things didn't work out very well, and he left. And so that is a very great need that we have. As a local church, we need strong leadership. And so if you might pray with us and for us, that the Lord will raise other men who can take up the eldership within the local church. And then obviously, as the work of Wisdom Training Center begins to expand, we need more men who can take part in the teaching. But obviously, as that work expands, we need more resources going forward, because getting these people in-house. And then going forward, by the way, let me just mention this. We've got a plan to bring in men in residence, especially those who want to train, particularly as pastors and church leaders. But our facilities are still very limited. We can't have them in residence, and we're praying and hoping that in the coming years, the Lord willing, we might have expanded capacity to be able to do that. Right now, in fact, we're having our classes in our church hall. That's where we're having our classes. Yeah, so many things to pray for, but those are the two quick things that I can think of very, very quickly.
Well, thank you so much, brother. We praise the Lord for what He's doing, and we will seek to uphold you in prayer.
Thank you so very much. May I add just one more quick thing that I had forgotten? Please pray with us, because some of these men whom the Lord is raising and are coming to believe the doctrines and are being faithful in teaching them, they are paying a heavy price. They're being disowned by their denominations. They are losing members, and obviously as that happens, they are going through very difficult times, economically and all sorts of ways. So please be praying for some of these men, that God will give them the patience, the fortitude of heart and mind to continue soldiering on and being faithful to the truth of the gospel. Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.